You've been told that women are attracted to looks, money, or charm, but let's be honest, that's only part of the story. The real truth about female attraction, most men never hear it. And when they do, it changes everything. Because attraction isn't something you chase, it's something you become. Let's break down what no one tells you about what truly pulls a woman in, and how a stoic mindset quietly turns you into the man she can't ignore. It's not looks, it's energy number one. It's not looks, it's energy. You could have the perfect jawline, designer clothes, and a body chiseled from dedication. But if your energy radiates insecurity, self doubt, or emotional chaos, it won't matter. That's the part nobody tells you. Most men spend all their time polishing the exterior, thinking it's the key to attraction. And yes, appearance might catch her eye for a moment, but it's your energy that decides whether she stays intrigued or silently checks out. Women don't fall through analysis. They feel their way into attraction. It's almost instinctual. The way you carry yourself, the way your presence speaks before your mouth opens. If your energy says, I need you to like me, she'll feel it like a cold breeze. But if your energy says, I'm at peace with or without your attention, suddenly you're the mystery, the challenge, the calm in the storm. That's what makes a man magnetic. His ability to be centered no matter what's happening around him. And this is where Stoicism isn't just a philosophy. It becomes your edge. And yes, a Stoic man walks into any room without trying to dominate it. He doesn't overtalk, overshare, or try to prove his worth through loud gestures. He doesn't need to be liked because he respects himself. That respect flows into everything he does, how he looks at people, how he speaks, how he waits before reacting. There's power in stillness, and a woman can feel that in her gut. Imagine two men walk into a cafe. One is charming, loud, obviously trying to impress. He's funny, sure, but something about him feels exhausting. The other sits quietly, calm, observant. He's not performing, he's just being. And yet, people notice him. Not because he's shouting, but because his energy is grounded. That's the kind of presence a woman remembers. That's the man who lingers in her mind when the night is over. Energy is emotional posture, and women are deeply attuned to it. They may not always know why they feel drawn to a man, but they'll tell you it's how he made them feel. Safe, seen, intrigued, steady. So if you've been focusing all your effort on how you look, pause for a moment and ask, what's it like to feel me? A stoic man doesn't chase validation because he's already met himself. He's done the inner work. He's faced the silence, sat with his thoughts, and mastered his emotional state. That's what gives his energy weight. It's why, even without trying, people respect him. Women admire him. Because peace, my friend, is the rarest kind of power. And when you embody that, you don't just become attractive, you become unforgettable. Mystery attracts more than certainty. Number two, mystery attracts more than certainty. You don't have to tell her everything. In fact, you shouldn't. Because here's the truth about female attraction, one that rarely gets spoken about. Mystery pulls her in far more than full access ever will. A woman's attraction isn't built entirely on logic or information. It's an emotional response sparked by the unknown. When she knows everything about you, when you're always available, always sharing your feelings, always ready to explain yourself, you remove the space for curiosity to grow. And when there's no curiosity, there's no desire to lean in. Now, I'm not telling you to become cold or distant. That's not the point. This isn't about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to forget. And the men who are unforgettable, they're the ones who keep a part of themselves sacred. They don't need to constantly reveal everything because they're not trying to be understood by everyone. They're trying to live with integrity. And they let people earn their depth, not consume it freely. Think of what Marcus Aurelius said. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. If you're constantly over-explaining, oversharing, or seeking reassurance, you've already given your power away. A stoic man protects his energy. He doesn't use vulnerability as a tool to gain approval. He chooses when to open up, and he does it from strength, not insecurity. Picture this. She texts you, asking about your day. You could send a wall of text explaining every detail, hoping to keep the conversation going. Or you give a short but thoughtful answer, then get back to your purpose. That space, that silence, it invites her to wonder, what are you thinking about? Why aren't you chasing the way other guys do? That mystery builds attraction more than any over-explained message ever could. When you leave room for a woman to wonder, you activate her curiosity. And in attraction, curiosity is fuel. It's what drives her to check your stories, to replay your conversations in her head, to want to understand you on a deeper level. And that only happens when you resist the need to overshare. You stop trying to be predictable. You stop trying to be understood right away. You stop making certainty your offering because a man with depth knows his presence is enough. So, if you want to be more than just another guy in her inbox, stop trying to impress her with facts. Let her feel something instead. Speak less. Say more with your energy. Don't reveal everything. Let your silence speak. And remember, mystery isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about owning who you are without giving it all away at once. And that's the part most men miss. She doesn't need a full blueprint of your mind to feel drawn to you. In fact, the less you reveal too soon, the more powerfully you pull her in. That emotional tension, the space between what she sees and what she wonders, is where real attraction lives. If any of this resonated with you, take a moment to like this video. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts or simply type, "I lead with calm, not chaos." Let's keep the conversation going and get ready because what's coming next might just shift how you see yourself forever. She's drawn to your center, not your effort, number 3. She's drawn to your center, not your effort. Most men think, if I try harder, she'll feel more. Wrong. What no one really tells you, what most men never learn, is that female attraction isn't earned through effort. It's not about how much you do, how often you reach out, or how many compliments you give. It's about how deeply you're rooted in yourself. Women are emotional barometers. They don't respond to the checklist of your actions. They respond to the feeling behind them. And if that feeling is neediness, insecurity, or desperation, no matter how polished your gestures are, she'll sense it, and it will repel her. You could take her to the nicest restaurant, plan the perfect day, even say all the right things. But if underneath it all, you're hoping to win her over to earn your place in her life, it doesn't feel grounded. It feels like you're reaching. And deep down, she won't trust it. Because real attraction, lasting magnetic attraction, comes from a man who doesn't need to convince. He just is. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the secret. Attraction doesn't come from performance. It comes from alignment. From being a man of substance who doesn't sway in the wind of her moods or depend on her replies to feel grounded. A man who knows that his energy, when it comes from a calm, centered place, speaks louder than any words. So ask yourself, am I trying to prove I'm worthy, or am I simply living in a way that shows it? Because when you stop trying to earn her, you begin to attract her. Not through force, but through stillness. Not by chasing, but by being so deeply anchored in who you are that she naturally wants to come closer. That's what no one tells you, and that's the truth about female attraction. Number 4, confidence is quiet. Confidence is quiet. Forget the loud guy in the room trying to impress everyone. You've seen him talking over others, flashing his achievements, turning every moment into a performance. He wants the spotlight because he doesn't feel complete without it. But here's the truth. That noise doesn't impress her. Not in any lasting way. Real confidence isn't about volume. It's about presence. It's about walking into a room and not needing to be seen to know you belong. True confidence is being secure in who you are, even when no one claps for it. When you're not fishing for approval, when you're not waiting for someone to validate your worth, that's when she starts to notice something different. That's when she leans in. Not because you're trying hard to attract her, but because your energy tells her, I don't need anything from you to feel whole. And that is magnetic. The truth about female attraction, what most people never tell you, is that women are drawn to what they feel more than what they hear. And what they feel most deeply is inner calm, emotional stability, and presence. That kind of energy doesn't come from showing off. It comes from self ownership. You could be the most attractive guy in the room physically, but if your energy screams insecurity or desperation, she'll pick up on it instantly. But the man who sits still speaks with intention and isn't trying to be anything other than himself. He's unforgettable. This is where Stoicism comes in. The Stoic man doesn't posture, he doesn't overtalk, he doesn't overreach. He holds himself with quiet dignity. His calm says, I know who I am and I don't need you to tell me. That's not arrogance, that's inner peace. And peace in a world full of chaos is extremely attractive. Let me give you an example. Imagine two men at a gathering. One is bouncing from group to group, named dropping, laughing a bit too loud, making sure everyone knows he's somebody. The other sits quietly, observes, speaks when he has something to say, and when he does, people listen. The second man doesn't need to prove anything. And that mystery, that depth, that sense of calm control, it creates a gravity around him. Women are drawn to that because it signals strength. Not just physical strength, but emotional strength. The kind that says, I won't chase chaos. I won't abandon myself just to be liked. So the next time you're tempted to turn up the volume to get her attention, remember this. Real attraction isn't about doing more. It's about being more. More grounded, more focused, more aware of your value. Even if no one else says a word because a stoic man doesn't chase applause, he builds himself in silence. And that silence, that's what echoes the loudest. Number 5, your detachment creates desire. Desire. The moment you stop needing her to want you, that's when she starts to wonder about you. It's strange, isn't it? How when you're chasing, over-explaining, trying to prove your worth, she pulls away. But when you pull your energy back, when you stop performing and just become still, that's when her curiosity is awakened. Detachment isn't coldness. It's not some trick to manipulate her. It's emotional independence. It's the quiet strength of a man who has looked within and found peace without needing to be validated by anyone, especially not a woman's attention. The truth about female attraction that no one really tells you is this. Women aren't drawn to men who seek approval. They're drawn to the man who doesn't flinch in the face of silence, but who doesn't need to be chased to feel seen. A stoic man doesn't attach his identity to outcome. If she stays, he remains himself. If she leaves, he remains himself. His emotional center doesn't shift with external forces. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That's what detachment looks like. It's not running, it's not pretending, it's standing in the stillness of your own worth and not bending just to keep someone in your life. Imagine you've been texting her every day, being responsive, showing effort, and suddenly she grows distant. You feel the urge to chase, to ask what's wrong, but instead, you pause. You go inward. You focus on your mission, your peace, your path. You don't become cold, but you stop overgiving. That shift without anger, without blame, starts to speak louder than any words you could send. And she notices because detachment doesn't repel her. It makes her rethink your value. It creates space for her to reach out, for her to wonder. And in that wondering, attraction is reignited. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped needing it. And this is where I want you to really pause and think. Not just about her, but about you. About how often you've confused love with performance or attention with worth. The moment you no longer move from a place of lack, the entire energy shifts. So ask yourself honestly, have you been seeking or standing? Are you acting from peace or from fear of being forgotten? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What part of this message resonated with you most? Or simply type, I choose stillness over struggle. Either way, your voice matters here. And your journey toward becoming a grounded, stoic man continues in the next part. She reads your silence loudly. Number 6, she reads your silence loudly. You don't need to say much. In fact, in the world of female attraction, what you don't say often speaks louder than anything you could ever express with words. When a woman grows distant, stops texting as much, or pulls back her energy, many men rush to fix it. They send long messages. They ask, did I do something wrong? They try to remind her of their value. But here's the truth most men never hear. The more noise you make to prove yourself, the more invisible you become. Now contrast that with silence. Not passive-aggressive silence, not manipulative silence, but grounded stoic silence. The kind that says, I see what's happening and I choose not to lose myself in it. That kind of silence is heavy. It carries weight. And a woman feels it because when you stop over-explaining, stop chasing, stop performing for her attention, she starts to notice what she used to take for granted. Your silence becomes a message, one she can't ignore. It says, I respect myself too much to fight for a place where I'm not clearly invited. And that truth, though unspoken, echoes louder than anything you could type at 2 a.m. The stoic man doesn't rush to correct perception. He doesn't panic when attention fades. Instead, he observes. He detaches with calm. He lets his absence do the talking when his presence has been overlooked. Suppose you've been dating a woman for a month. Things felt good at first, but now her energy is inconsistent. She's busy, her replies are vague, and she no longer initiates. Most men would try harder, send flowers, make surprise calls, ask if she's still interested. But the man who understands the truth about female attraction doesn't chase clarity from someone who's already shown uncertainty. He steps back. He goes quiet. Not to punish, but to protect his peace. And here's the part no one tells you. When your silence is rooted in self-respect, it triggers something in her. She starts wondering why you didn't chase, why you didn't explain why your world didn't crumble without her. And in that wondering, attraction is often reawakened, because women aren't drawn to desperation. They're drawn to depth, to presence, to emotional composure. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In this case, the best response to her coldness isn't a reaction, it's self-control. When a woman sees that her distance doesn't unravel you, that your silence isn't sulking but self-calm, it changes the dynamic entirely. So if she's pulling away, don't fill the space with noise. Fill it with strength. Step back, stay centered. Let your silence carry the message. I am not afraid to lose someone who isn't afraid to lose me. And watch how that calm, quiet detachment speaks volumes. Emotional stability is rare and sexy. Number 7, emotional stability is rare and sexy. She's seen enough drama, enough roller coasters, enough men who let their emotions control them, whether it's anger, jealousy, or desperation. And while those men may have been exciting for a moment, the truth is emotional chaos gets exhausting. What she truly craves, what makes her feel safe, respected, and drawn in, is something far more rare. A man who doesn't flinch under pressure. A man who feels deeply but remains unmoved in the face of emotional storms. That kind of grounded presence, it doesn't just attract her, it anchors her. You don't need to be emotionless. That's not what Stoicism is. In fact, it's the opposite. The Stoic man feels everything. He just refuses to be enslaved by any of it. He chooses his response. He doesn't react to every provocation. When she pulls away, he doesn't chase. When she challenges him emotionally, he doesn't collapse or argue just to restore harmony. He observes. He stays rooted. And that calm silence, when used with intention, is one of the most magnetic things a man can offer. Imagine she sends a cold, dismissive message. Maybe you feel the sting of it. Your pride flares, your chest tightens. The average man replies right away, defends himself, maybe even starts apologizing for things he didn't do just to get her attention back. But the man who values his inner stability pauses. He breathes. He reminds himself, her behavior doesn't define me. He responds hours later, or maybe not at all, because he's not trying to regain control of her. He's in control of himself. That calm, mature reaction hits differently. She notices. Even if she doesn't reply right away, something shifts in her mind. He didn't react. Why not? This is the truth about female attraction no one tells you. It isn't about being overly nice or constantly trying to please her. It's about being anchored. A man who owns his emotional world is a man she can lean on without fear he'll collapse under the weight. That kind of presence doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from doing the inner work, from quiet strength, from self-discipline, from choosing clarity over chaos. Women might flirt with the unpredictable man, but they stay with the one who brings peace, who makes her feel safe, not by fixing everything, but by staying steady when everything else feels uncertain. And that's what makes a Stoic man unforgettable. He doesn't just look strong, he is strong emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and that is a kind of sexy the world is starving for. So now take a moment to reflect. What kind of energy have you been bringing into your relationships? Are you chasing emotional highs and validation? Or are you becoming the steady presence she didn't even know she needed? Remember, it's not about being cold. It's about being calm. The man who leads himself first becomes the one she naturally follows. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts, or simply type, calm mind, strong presence. I'd love to hear what stood out most to you. Now let's go even deeper into what makes this presence not only powerful, but unforgettable. Masculine purpose is the real aphrodisiac number 8. Masculine purpose is the real aphrodisiac. You want to attract her? Get obsessed with your mission. I'm not talking about faking hustle to get her attention. I mean truly locking into the path that calls you. Whether it's your craft, your career, your business, or your discipline in becoming better day by day. That obsession with something bigger than her is what draws her in without a word. It's a paradox most men never understand because they've been fed the lie that attention equals affection. That the more you chase her, the more she'll want you. But here's the truth. No one tells you. The moment you make her your mission, you lose the attraction. She doesn't fall for the man who waits for her reply all day. She feels the pull of the man who's too busy becoming someone exceptional to worry about being liked. Think of it like this. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up wondering who would text him back. He woke up with a sense of duty. A man anchored in purpose doesn't just attract women, he inspires them. There's a quiet fire in his eyes, a stability in his energy. And women feel that, not just emotionally, but instinctively. I want you to imagine this. 2 men walk into her life. One texts her all day, compliments her constantly, and rearranges everything to be available. The other is polite, present, but has a life that's moving. He's hard to pin down, not because he's playing games, but because he's playing life at a higher level. Who does she find more attractive? Not the man who chases. The one who's moving so powerfully toward his purpose that being around him feels like stepping into gravity. That's the kind of energy a Stoic man brings. He isn't ruled by desire, but guided by principle. He doesn't ask, will she like me if I do this? He asks, does this align with who I'm becoming? And that kind of presence doesn't just catch her attention, it holds it. Not through noise or effort, but through depth. So if you really want to understand the truth about female attraction, forget the tricks, forget the lines, anchor yourself in purpose. Become a man whose mission speaks louder than his words, because the most seductive thing you can offer is a life she wants to be part of but can never control. Number 9, she's attracted to how you she's attracted to how you handle rejection. Handle rejection. Attraction doesn't just happen when things go well. It deepens in how you handle when they don't. You get rejected, ghosted, ignored. That's where the illusion ends for most men. They spiral. They overthink. They beg. But here's the truth. No one tells you. How you respond in that uncomfortable silence is far more revealing and far more attractive than anything you did to impress her. See, any man can show confidence when he's being praised, validated, or desired. But when the attention stops, when the texts stop coming, when she pulls away with no explanation, that's when your core is tested. And if you can stand still in that emotional storm without collapsing into insecurity, that's rare. That's magnetic. A stoic man doesn't crumble just because he wasn't chosen. He doesn't tie his value to someone else's reaction. Rejection to him isn't personal. It's a filter that removes what wasn't aligned with his path. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So when she ghosts you, when she stops showing up, you don't chase. You don't explain. You return to your rhythm, your values, your direction. Let me give you a real example. A man spends weeks getting to know a woman. Great chemistry, long calls, deep conversations. Then out of nowhere, she vanishes. No closure, no reason. He could blow up her phone. He could demand answers. But instead, he chooses the path of calm detachment. He says nothing. He refocuses. He lets her absence be her message. A few weeks later, she reappears, curious, asking how he's been. Why? Because he didn't act like most men. His silence wasn't bitterness. It was self-respect. That's what the truth about female attraction really is. It's not just about charm or charisma. It's about emotional discipline, about showing a woman that your peace isn't up for negotiation. And believe it or not, that's what draws her in more than compliments ever could. So next time you're faced with rejection, don't see it as a loss. See it as an opportunity to stand firm, to rise, not for her attention, but for your own standard. You become most attractive when nothing outside of you can shake what's solid within you. And that, my friend, is something no one teaches, but every real woman notices. High standards signal high value. Number 10. High standards signal high value. You don't win her by lowering your standards. You win her respect by keeping them. And that's the part no one really tells you about female attraction. It's not just about what you say or how much effort you put in. It's about what you don't tolerate. It's about what you're silently willing to walk away from. Think about it. Any man can chase. Any man can say all the right things, show affection, and bend himself just to please. But not every man can look a beautiful woman in the eyes and say, "This isn't enough for me." That takes strength. That takes clarity. And that quiet conviction, she feels it. She may not always agree with it, but deep down she respects it more than any empty compliment or gift. Here's the truth about female attraction no one teaches you. Women don't fall in love with the man who gives them everything. They fall for the man who doesn't give himself away too easily. When you stop entertaining inconsistency, when you no longer chase someone who's half interested, you instantly raise your value. Not just in her eyes, but in your own. And that shift, that's magnetic. A stoic man doesn't trade his peace for temporary validation. He doesn't cling to people who aren't ready. He remains rooted in his principles, not pulled by his impulses. That kind of discipline, especially in a world full of desperation, stands out. It separates the boy who's begging to be loved from the man who knows he's already enough. So, when a woman sends mixed signals, when her effort starts to fade, when the energy shifts, pay attention. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to convince her. Let your standards speak, let your silence be the answer because you don't raise your value by fighting to stay. You raise it by knowing when to leave with grace. And in that moment, when you walk away with quiet strength instead of chasing with fear, something changes not just in her, but in you. She might come back, she might not. But either way, you win because you stayed true to your worth, and nothing is more attractive than that. Before we move on, take a second to let that sink in. What you walk away from says just as much, if not more, about your value than what you choose to pursue. In a world where most men fold under pressure, a man who stands firm in his standards becomes unforgettable. So ask yourself, are you lowering yourself to be liked or rising in strength to be respected? That shift in mindset is the turning point from chasing to attracting. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Just type, I choose strength over approval. And if you're finding value in this, don't forget to like the video. It helps more men discover this message. Now, let's dive into the next part because what comes next is just as powerful. Number 11. True attraction begins with. True attraction begins with you. This is the final truth most men miss. You don't become attractive by chasing women. You become attractive by becoming a man you admire, not the version of you that's trying to impress. Not the version that's constantly scanning her responses for signs of approval, but the version of you that's rooted, disciplined, and focused on becoming better every single day. See, the truth about female attraction, the part most men aren't taught, is that it's not about being liked, it's about being felt. Women don't just respond to your looks or your words, they respond to your presence. And your presence becomes powerful the moment you start living with self-respect. When you stop performing for attention and start building a life that naturally commands it. Let me give you a real example. A man goes through a breakup. Most men, when that happens, spiral into neediness. They beg. They chase. They try to prove their worth to the woman who left. But a Stoic man sees that moment differently. He doesn't waste his breath trying to convince her to stay. He turns inward. He asks himself, who do I want to be after this? Not to get her back, but because his own standard demands that he rise. He hits the gym not for revenge, but for discipline. He studies not to appear smart, but to grow sharper. He creates distance not out of pride, but because he refuses to cling to what's no longer aligned. And what happens? She starts to feel that shift, that energy, that new version of him who's no longer available for emotional chaos, games, or crumbs. That's the paradox no one tells you. The moment you stop trying to make her feel something about you is often the moment she starts to, because now you're not chasing, you're leading, you're becoming. And she can sense that. She may not even understand why, but the respect grows, the curiosity grows, and often the attraction grows. Not because you tried harder, but because you became harder to shake. From a Stoic lens, this all makes sense. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are needy, insecure, anxious, she'll feel that. But if your thoughts are grounded in growth, dignity, and virtue, she'll feel that too. You're always communicating, even in silence. So don't focus on being wanted. Focus on being worthy. Build a life you don't need to escape from. Pursue goals that stretch you. Become a man who doesn't just attract women, but one who attracts peace, discipline, and respect. Because at the end of the day, true attraction doesn't begin when she looks your way. It begins when you look in the mirror and finally recognize the man standing there. And that, my friend, conclusion is the truth about female attraction. Most men are never taught. It's not about saying the right things or showing off the right moves. It's about becoming the right man. A man who is grounded, centered, unshakable. One who doesn't chase love but lives with purpose. One who isn't desperate to be seen, but powerful in his quiet presence. When you stop needing to be chosen and start choosing yourself, that's when everything shifts. That's when she starts to feel something she can't explain. That's when you stop being an option and start becoming unforgettable. If you got value from this video, give it a like. It really helps the message reach other men who need to hear this. Drop a comment below and let me know which insight hit you the hardest. And don't forget to check out the recommended videos on screen. They'll take you even deeper into this path of becoming the man you were meant to be. Stay grounded, stay focused, and as always, protect your peace.